Hey everyone. Today I want to talk about one of my favorite personality disorders. It's dissociative identity disorder, also known as DID. So it used to be referred to in non-clinical terms as split personality disorder, but that is not exactly the case, and we'll get into that a little bit as I tell you more about it. So it's my favorite because it is so fascinating what the brain is able to do to help a person survive. And that fascinates me. It always has. I studied it in college way back when, my first degree in psychology, and I fell in love with it and the brain and the way it works. And I'll tell you a little more about it as we go on. So, DID, it's a mental health condition where a person has two or more alternate separate identities called alters. Each identity has its own name, its own voice, its own behaviors, and even its own memories. And it is developed as a way to cope with extreme trauma that happens usually during childhood. The brain protects the person. It basically is the nuts and bolts of it. So people with DID, they might feel like different parts of them take control at different times. They may have memory gaps. They may explain it like they lost time, like they have no idea where these couple days went, hours went, whatever it is. They may feel detached from their body or their surroundings. They may even experience inner voices or conversations. And they may notice different handwritings or skills that they don't remember learning. And they can struggle with depression, anxiety, and identity confusion, which would make sense. So what causes DID? It develops after severe, repeated trauma, often in early childhood. Children who face intense, repeated, long-term abuse and neglect may use dissociation to mentally escape the situation. And over time, these split off parts can become separate identities. And this is what I find so fascinating, is that our brain takes our experiences, and a growing brain is in a child who is unable to process the feelings, the emotions, the situation, and the nightmare that they're living in, their household that is, they're being abused, they're being neglected, they're forced to live daily with this trauma, and their growing brain can't handle processing it because it doesn't have the means to. So it develops different dissociative alters to handle different things. And we'll get into a little more as we go. And this is going to be a 2-part video because there's a lot to talk about. So how is DID diagnosed? There is a specific tool. It is called the Structured Clinical Interview for DSM Dissociative Disorders, or SCID-D for short. It is the most widely used tool to diagnose DID. It is a very long, in-depth interview done by a trained clinician. And it covers 5 key symptoms of dissociation. So, amnesia, that memory loss for daily events or traumas. Depersonalization, feeling detached from your body. Derealization, feeling like the world isn't real. And then identity confusion, so feeling unsure of who you are. And then identity alteration, so feeling like different identities are taking over in different situations. And I want to add that there's not always the main self, the person, doesn't always have an awareness of what exactly is going on. They may not be fully aware of their alters, and this causes a lot of the confusion and the memory loss. They don't know, they can't explain where the time went or how things happened or what happened to them or with them. So the skid is not a quick test. It can take hours and often happens over several sessions to get a full picture. So, how is it treated? So, there's no pill, there's no straight up medication to treat DID. It can be treated with intense therapy and support. So, therapy is going to be the main treatment. It's going to be trauma-focused therapy. So, helping process the past abuse. Dissociation therapy, help the identities work together. So bringing awareness to those alters to the self and working together to bring them together, work through the past traumas. And DBT and CBT therapy may also be helpful to manage symptoms. So, and then I'm going to stop here and we're going to come back for part 2 to finish off.